Moon Knight, FIST of Khonshu, issue number 13 from Marvel. And man, this series continues to be one of the more interesting, but also one of the more inconsistent rides that I've been reading so far. So the last issue was a weird, fun birthday party filler. This one though, we're diving back into the supernatural mess that started back in issue number 11. So a quick recap. Wrecker, the guy with the magic crowbar, is being haunted by ghosts. And in a seriously weird twist, he comes to Moon Knight for help because Mark Spector owes him a favor. During their investigation, Moon Knight's superpowered, super annoying ex, the Scarlet Scarab, shows up, and we learn that the ghosts are Wrecker's past victims back for revenge. And this issue kicks off with a flashback, the city on fire. Firefighters are battling a blaze. They're trying to save whoever they can, but then they stumble across something wrong, is the best way I can describe it. It's a body, but it's like weirdly mangled and kind of twisted, and it's obviously this was not an accident. This wasn't a body that was burned in the fire. You can tell that something happened, something supernatural, and that this person suffered a lot. The art does a really fantastic job of making it look just twisted and unnatural. And then they see him, the Wrecker. One firefighter narrates, he hurt those people, killed them in horrible ways, and he didn't care at all. It's a pretty cool opener. And then we snap to the present and we realize that that whole scene was a story being told by that same firefighter in a group therapy session. And who's in the audience listening in? None other than Moon Knight and the Scarlet Scarab. And you can tell that Mark is just barely keeping it together as he's listening to this story. And as soon as the session ends, Mark just completely loses it. He starts kicking the absolute tar out of a trash can. He's pissed. He basically feels like Wrecker played him, that he made a fool out of the FIST of Khonshu. And this is where Scarlet Scarab, aka the absolute worst person ever, opens her mouth and she snaps at him. Says, "You made a fool of yourself by helping a supervillain." So let me just say this right now. Scarlet Scarab is insufferable in this issue. I don't know if this is their usual dynamic from the old days, but Jesus, am I glad that they're not together anymore. She is condescending, she's self-righteous, she's just a total buzzkill. Thankfully, Moon Knight isn't having it. He immediately claps back and telling her not to pretend she's some innocent flower and reminding her that she used to make a living killing people back in the day. So I like this. It was a fantastic moment that immediately shuts her down and shows that Mark isn't some simp for his superpowered ex. And while they're having this little ex-lovers quarrel, we see the firefighter from the therapy session eavesdropping on them, which is a little suspicious. We then cut to the midnight mission. Moon Knight is interrogating Wrecker, and Wrecker's sticking to his story. He claims it wasn't really him. I mean, it was him physically, but he relates that he got a new crowbar from Madame Mask, and the thing possessed him, and it forced him to kill those people. And he actually makes a surprisingly compelling point. He says, "I've killed people before. Why don't I got them haunting me? Why is it only these specific victims?" I mean, honestly, that logic kind of checks out. Even Moon Knight realizes he's right. Something is off. The haunting is too specific, too targeted. This doesn't line up. Something else is behind this. This feels less like a spiritual reckoning and more like a targeted attack. And I love how, like, in the middle of this super serious supernatural investigation, we get, in my opinion, the best moment in this entire issue. So Tigra, who we all know as Mark's current girlfriend, she's there because it's the Midnight Mission. The whole Midnight group is there. So Tigra is there, and she locks eyes with Scarlet Scarab. And without a single word, she just gives her the most perfect deadpan, "I'm watching you" gesture. You know the one. Points to her own eyes, then points at Scarab. I love this. She is basically staking her claim. And in an issue full of ghosts and magic, this silent cat fight was the real magic for me. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, to get to the bottom of this magical mess, Moon Knight and Scarab do the logical thing. They go to see Doctor Strange. because whenever you have issues with magic, Doctor Strange is the first person you go to. But he's not home. In fact, he's been missing for a while, which I'm assuming, if you're keeping up with the other Marvel books, kind of lines up with the current continuity. I wouldn't know, because I'm not really reading a lot of other Marvel stuff, but that's my assumption. Anyway, instead of being greeted by Doctor Strange, they're greeted by Clea. And Clea is awesome. I don't really know much about her, but this little interaction I enjoyed. She turns out to be a fan of Moon Knight. She says she respects like what he does and stuff, which is wild to hear because Mark usually gets the opposite reaction from anyone in the Cape, or at least from the brief cameos I've seen of him in other series that I've read. So Clea listens in on their case, and she casts a spell on them to help them see the world as magicians do. And I think the art team did a great job here. The colors, or in some cases the lack of colors, just really does a great job of showcasing this. It feels like a weird, tripping, magical LSD moment. So it's like the reality kind of peels away and you're just floating through this dreamlike version of the world where spirits and curses and stuff are visible. But yeah, it's trippy. It's awesome. It's easily the best visual sequence in this entire issue. From here, it's basically your classic detective story, just with more magic. Moon Knight and Scarab follow the magical trail, and they find the perpetrator behind the ghosts. And I won't spoil it here, but let's just say it's exactly who you think it is. It's not a shocking twist or anything like that. Still, the journey's pretty solid. Feels like a proper urban fantasy detective story. You got your street level meets the supernatural, which is the sweet spot for Moon Knight, in my opinion. I'm not going to spoil the rest, so let's just get on with the review here. Starting with the characters. Moon Knight's written perfectly. He's stoic, but seething. He also got a little bit of comedic moments with him. You can tell he's trying to do better, but his temper is always just like right there under the surface and kind of getting in the way. Wrecker's surprisingly somewhat sympathetic, which is kind of impressive considering he's, well, Wrecker. Clea's great. Tigra is awesome. And then you got Scarlet Scarab. I'm trying to be fair here, but she's just painful to read. Maybe longtime Moon Knight fans will get her. Maybe her personality makes more sense with all the history between them. But as someone who only really knows her from the Disney Plus series, I just find her very annoying. She's written like that ex who shows up at the party just to remind everyone that she dated the host. She's constantly combative, constantly judgmental, and somehow still makes every conversation about crapping on Mark. The best thing she adds to this issue is the way Tigra just silently marks her territory. Final thoughts. Overall, this issue was fine. Not great, but not bad. It's very much like just middle of the arc kind of episode. You know, you got your somewhat decent street level urban fantasy story. The artwork is consistently great, especially in the magical sequence that I explained earlier. The tone is exactly what I want from a Moon Knight story. Gritty, mythical, a little bit weird, a little bit of humor thrown in as well. And I love the little moment between Tigra and the Scarab. But with that said, it is one of the more weaker entries in this otherwise pretty stellar run. It feels like we're kind of treading water a bit. So my biggest gripe is that they teased the heck out of Zodiac as the new big bad a few issues back. And since then, he's just been sitting on the back burner. I am desperate for that storyline to kick into high gear, because when Moon Knight has a real villain to go against, that's when this book truly shines. Like in the beginning when he was fighting against Fairchild, like that was like the best. But now that he's kind of doing filler stuff as well as just this current antagonist, it is what it is, I guess. Anyways, that's Moon Knight FIST of Khonshu number 13. The Moon Knight's X is a huge problem issue. So what do you think? Are you enjoying the supernatural mystery? Am I being too hard on Scarlet Scarab? Or do you find her just as annoying as I do? Drop your thoughts down below. I'm really curious how longtime fans feel about their dynamic. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.